Hey everybody, welcome back to Kayfabe Critique. I'm David.
I'm Jason. What's up?
And so we are on the road to WrestleMania.
Oh yes.
So we got Fastlane coming up this weekend, and then after that there is no stops between there and Mania.
And I'm getting excited. I'm getting excited for this WrestleMania because of who we're going to be talking about tonight a lot. That's really a whole lot of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so you're starting to build up matches towards WrestleMania, like, Triple H versus Batista. We know we're going to see Seth Rollins versus Brock Lesnar. We're still playing out, what will be the main event for SmackDown. I'm guessing we're probably going to see some sort of triple threat involving, Kofi Kingston getting his shot at the title. And, Kofi's got a lot of momentum right now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right. Our subject for tonight is possibly the hottest story going into WrestleMania.
The man.
Exactly. So tonight we are covering Becky Lynch. So it's headed into Mania. It's looking like it's building up towards a triple threat that we had talked about, previously on Kayfabe Critique. Really talking about, looking to see Becky Lynch, who's the hottest star in the company right now, Ronda Rousey, who brings mainstream appeal, and then Charlotte, who's been, pretty much the face of the women's revolution.
Yeah. And between the three of them, any two of them together is money. And we've already seen, we've seen Charlotte and Becky. We've seen Ronda and Charlotte. We haven't seen Becky versus Ronda one-on-one, which I'm kind of disappointed that it won't be that, but I'm cool with a triple threat because it makes sense because all three of them have beef with each other.
Yeah, we almost got to see the one-on-one before Survivor Series.
Right.
But with Becky's injury, Charlotte stepped in, and Charlotte and Ronda had an amazing match at Survivor Series, still in the show. And I think at that point, I think the thought was when Becky got hurt, they were probably going to WrestleMania with a one-on-one of Becky versus Ronda, but the performance Charlotte gave at Survivor Series, and then spinning around and doing it again a month later, Charlotte still in the show 2 months in a row on a pay-per-view, that I think they had no choice but to put her in this match.
Yeah, and people will say, well, it's because she's Charlotte Flair or whatever. The girl can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, definitely her dad's name, definitely probably helped her get into the business and help establish that character. But ever since then, it's been truly her. I mean, her ability in the ring, her presence as a heel, I mean, she definitely is top-notch.
I mean, she can be a baby face, but the whole heel thing, when she came out with Boo the Woo and Screw You, it's like she can do whatever she wants to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this match has a lot of momentum, not only from the fan standpoint, but, in terms of historical value as well, as it's looking like it's going to be the first ever women's match to headline the biggest show of the year, to headline WrestleMania.
In New York, well, technically New Jersey at Giants Stadium, but, it was the biggest media market in the world. And who could follow that anyway?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the crowd right now is so hot for Becky. That's what's kind of pushing this into the main event. It's going to deliver with those three in there. But, because of that, how hot she is, the crowd reaction she's gaining a lot of comparisons to a former star of the past who's often argued as, is he the biggest star in wrestling? He's definitely one of the top two. But she's being compared and called the new Stone Cold Steve Austin. What do you think of that comparison?
I see it. I mean, we were talking offline about the fact that, when Austin was injured, he was doing run-ins, coming through the crowd and, stunning people and getting the hell out of there. I mean, Becky, she's not quite doing run-ins. She's kind of doing crutching ins. And I think, what did Ronda call her the other day? A crutch something ninja?
Yeah, crutch ginger
crutch ninja, which I think needs to be a T-shirt. And I mean, but it's like her whole anti-authority thing and like getting into it with Triple H and Stephanie. That's straight out of the Austin playbook.
Right, definitely the anti-authority, the going against the McMahon family, the interference because she's suspended due to injury, just like he was after his neck injury to Owen Hart. The interference, just like you mentioned. Even the being arrested and walking out, still kind of running her mouth, like, that famous when he's being walked out and that head's going. And,
I ain't through with you, Vince. I ain't through with you by a long shot.
Yes, we're definitely seeing, it looks like they're trying to lay the siege just like they were with Austin. Trying to do it a bit on a faster pace, though. Because that Austin build with McMahon was a wow. So it looks like they're trying to do this on a much faster pace. But the way this is going, she's obviously hot like Austin was. She's getting the crowd reaction like Austin was. Is she the new face of the company?
Yeah.
Is she going to be the way, when you kind of look at WWE in terms, history, you had Hogan was the face of the company. Your next big face of the company was Austin. Then Cena. Is she now the next?
I don't see who else you can put it on. Seriously. Nobody's getting a reaction like she is. Seth is getting a reaction, but it's not that. Roman's getting a baby face reaction because he's coming back from cancer, but it ain't that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with you. We're both Seth Rollins fans.
Right.
But yeah, he's not getting the response that she's getting. And if this is done right, she can just get even bigger.
Yeah. And again, it's happened with Austin, it's happened organically. Because technically, I might be jumping ahead, she was supposed to be the heel.
Yeah, absolutely, just like Austin was.
Right.
Austin was initially supposed to be the heel, but the way the crowd was eating it up, they flipped it and put Red as the heel and Austin as the face. So, but I think you hit on a key point there, organically, the way she's developed, because a year ago, would you have called this?
Nope.
2 years ago, would you have thought this?
Nope.
Me neither. It definitely wouldn't have seen this coming. So let's kind of take a moment and walk through that career of how she got to where she is. So, everybody else can see that this definitely was organic. This was over time putting in the work, getting the respect of the crowd, and then just capitalizing on that by hard work night after night after night, and just that groundswell that became this overwhelming reaction that we hear.
Let's do it.
All right, so Rebecca Quinn, known as Becky Lynch, born January 30th, 1987, Irish professional wrestler, began training in June of 2002, initially working in Ireland, would team with her brother. She initially started wrestling under the name Rebecca Knox. She then started wrestling in other parts of Europe and North America on the independent circuit. She competed in Elite Canadian Championship Wrestling, and was the first wrestler to win the Supergirls Championship in June of 2005.
Yeah, and just reading up on her, I was like pretty fascinated. Just knowing that she's like studied, she has a degree in acting, I believe it is, and just watching how she came up when she used to tagged up with her brother kind of reminded me of Fighting With My Family, which I just saw a few days ago. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. So there's kind of an interesting parallel between her and Paige. Paige is in England, Becky's in Ireland, and both of them are kind of starting out like teaming up with their brothers. Yeah,
and kind of also the European influence that we're kind of seeing now with WWE UK, NXT UK, Finn Balor coming over. So yeah, there's definitely that European influence that we're starting to see kind of move into the mainstream in America.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is her career almost got derailed completely. In September 2006, she suffered a severe head injury.
Yeah.
And she's not really seen again for 6 years.
Yeah, that was, when I read that, I was like, wow, so all of this almost didn't happen.
Yeah.
Because of a head injury. So, I mean,
another similar to Austin with a severe injury that almost prevented
yeah.
a hot rising star. So, but she does recover, and in late 2012, she signs a contract with WWE, and in 2013, she starts with NXT.
Yep, and I just, with NXT, the way it's been done, I just I can't say enough good things about NXT. Just the whole entire process, just the way that they've made that almost into, I mean, technically it's supposed to be like a training center, but it's arguably one of the top promotions in the world now.
Yeah, absolutely. And not only are you getting the training that you would have got out of the Performance Center or the Power Plant WCW days, or, you know, more recent times, you know, Ohio Valley, Florida Championship Wrestling. Not only those grounds, but the production aspects that go into NXT. So putting on the television show each week, having their own pay-per-view equivalents each month, that's preparing them at another level that you would have never gotten in the past.
Yeah. And they, I mean, them doing house shows even, I mean, just everything that they're doing is so good at preparing you. Again, I go back to Fighting With My Family. They like gave you like an insight into what goes on at the trainings, at the Performance Center, and they get you ready. I remember even watching ESPN even did a documentary about NXT and what goes into what goes on in their preparation, and it's like you're going. I mean, it's like going to college to be a professional wrestler, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, definitely credit to the WWE for having such a thing out there, because without the territory system, you know, which went away years ago, you know, guys were really losing that ability where, you know, during the territory system, I mean, people came in as truly seasoned veterans by the time they got to the WWE, you know, and that had went away.
Right.
And so now here it is, you know, a way to become a seasoned veteran, but do it also in a way that covers the television aspect. Like we've heard Eric Bischoff talk on 83 Weeks that, you know, just the little things of knowing where the camera is, knowing where the hard camera is, knowing how to play off the crowd. NXT is definitely preparing them for that big stage.
Right. And I mean, you just think about, first of all, look at who's running it. I mean, Triple H. I mean,
yeah, he's his brainchild. Yeah.
It's his brainchild, and he's like just a freaking wrestling genius as far as like ring psychology. And now you got Shawn Michaels down there. You had guys like, I mean, Billy Gunn's down there. He knows wrestling. The Road Dogg's down there. So you've got all these people to learn from.
Yeah, and I think Billy's gone already because he's signed with AEW. But it's like, between Shawn Michaels and Triple H, you have two of the greatest of all time.
Right.
Working with these guys and their connections to bring people in to talk to them as well. Like, you know, I mean, despite what people say about Scott Hall, you know, I mean, Hall is one of the all-time greats in terms of getting over with the crowd.
Right.
And, you know, his ring work, you know, back in the day spoke for itself. I mean, you know, they even had guys like him coming in and talk to the crowd.
Yeah, and the late Dusty Rhodes used to be down there too.
Yep.
So, I mean, there's all kinds of just people to just pick their brains and learn from.
Yeah, so initially, you know, she starts, you know, April 2013, a 2-year deal with the WWE, putting her into Florida for NXT, and gets the name Becky Lynch. She makes her in-ring debut, televised in-ring debut, June 26 in 2014, defeating Summer Rae. Then she starts teaming up with Bayley. They end up losing to Charlotte and Sasha Banks, who were known as the Beautiful Fierce Females. She would also spend the next few months, you know, kind of competing in non-title matches against Charlotte, losing 3 in a row. So it's interesting that back here at this time, her and Charlotte actually started in-ring competition against each other.
I mean, it's a story that builds itself because of the fact that you have, I mean, just thinking about this WrestleMania match, all of the history that they have with each other. I mean, you can play into that so well. And now it's going to culminate in them being at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
The
that's
peak.
Yeah, it's definitely bringing it. Two people who wanted to come up together were coming up together, kind of reaching their goal together on the biggest stage. So
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely great story there. And so she, after competing with Charlotte for a while, she's put her spot on an October 23rd episode of NXT, where she's being told to make herself relevant. So she actually teams with Sasha Banks to attack Bayley. So we kind of see an initial heel turn from Becky back then.
Yeah, and that's some people just make better heels. And I just think that when Becky, when I first started watching Becky as a babyface, I was kind of like, I mean, she's cool, but it just didn't feel like it was really who she was. To me, she just seems more like the natural heel type. She seems like that person that would do this in John Cena's face. I mean, that seems more like her to me. I could be wrong. I mean, she strikes me as somebody who's not. She strikes me as a nice person and everything like that, but like, she just doesn't strike me as anybody that. She just doesn't strike me as just somebody you want to mess with, though.
And so it's kind of interesting. That's kind of another Austin dynamic of. Yes, she kind of comes across as a traditional heel, but in a cool way. Kind of that rebellious, like you just said, she would do that to John Cena. I mean, that's that rebellion side that I think that's what the crowd's grasping onto. I mean, had she had this kind of persona, this kind of approach, and been around during the Attitude Era, the roof would have blown off the place.
They might not have been ready during the Attitude Era because...
True, because she wouldn't have had the competition to go up against.
Yeah, she would not have had the competition because the women during that time, I mean, you had some that could really go in the ring, but the majority couldn't. And just given the climate of the world that we're in now in 2019 with things like Me Too and things like that, which I think that it's empowered women in a way that wasn't in place in 1998 during the Attitude Era. So this is like the perfect time for something like this to happen.
Yeah, that's a good point, because also I don't know how the crowd would have reacted to Stone Cold in a female version that was very similar. But I think what's interesting is where she's getting the Austin comparisons, she's definitely going in her own route, developing herself, and we kind of see where she's really trying to find herself back here. So, after, she kind of makes that heel turn, she competes in a 4-way match, which she wins, which gets her a title shot at Sasha. She loses at NXT TakeOver Unstoppable, but in that match she debuts a new look, and it's resembling a character from the game Magic. And so you can kind of see then that she's really starting to try things out, trying to come into something on her own.
Yeah, and that's another good thing about NXT. It allows people to find something that fits them and find who they really are. Because a lot of the times, like, I think about Rocky Maivia. He didn't have the benefit of, this thing will quit going off, I swear to God. He didn't have the benefit of an NXT. Maybe had he had that,
they would have known Rocky sucks before.
But then again, Rocky Sucks did get us where we needed to be. So
exactly.
Who knows?
It got that attitude we needed to hear the promos that everyone came to love. So, you had mentioned the empowering of women, which was the goal Stephanie McMahon set out for with the Women's Revolution. And so that brings us to July 13th, 2015. For that Women's Revolution, she brings out Charlotte, Sasha, and Becky Lynch, and they make their debut on Raw. They get called up to the main roster. and Charlotte and Lynch start aligning themselves with Paige, and they're feuding against Team Bella, which is Alicia Fox and the Bella Twins.
And I remember this night, and I remember just the entire vision behind it, and it is such a, I don't want to say this, it's like, I don't know what took so long. It just feels like it took a while to get here, but I'm just glad they had the foresight to recognize that it's time to put the women on this level, because like the women's wrestling that, I mean, back in the 80s, with few exceptions like maybe the Jumping Bomb Angels, it was hard to watch. I mean, Medusa I could watch. I mean, not just because she's hot, but Medusa could actually do things in the ring. But
Yeah.
you would maybe get like 1 or 2 women's matches, what, pay-per-view a year?
Yeah, and and after Medusa, it was until Trish Stratus and Lita and Mickie James before we really got to see that core group again of girls that could go. I mean, not skipping over China. China was an amazing wrestler, a great athlete, getting into the Hall of Fame. I know a lot of people are upset that it's going in as part of a faction, but hey, it's opening the door, it's getting her in, which there's nothing saying that she can't go back in as a singles later on. I mean, Shawn was inducted as a singles wrestler first, and now he's getting in, and I mean, absolutely, and I mean, the New Age Outlaws will end up going in as a team on their own, but, China's going in now. She was a great women's wrestler as well, but she didn't really compete with the women, so that's why I kind of skipped over her in that scenario.
Right, and she was, I mean, she could compete with the guys too.
Yeah, she was the 9th wonder of the world.
No doubt.
And so, and just because we mentioned the Hall of Fame, had to throw this in, Shawn Michaels will now be the second man to be a 2-time Hall of Famer, only behind his hero, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair. But, so, Lynch makes her in-ring debut July 20th on Raw, teaming with Paige in a losing effort against Sasha and Naomi. She earned her first singles victory on July 28th, which was an episode of Main Event over Brie Bella. Her group is PCB, Paige, Charlotte, Becky. On August 31st, all the members of PCB competed in the inaugural Divas Beat the Clock Challenge to determine the #1 contender. And then the following night after this, Paige turns her back on her partners. And so, really saying that the only reason Charlotte was there was because of her father, Ric Flair, which we kind of touched on that earlier, but they bring it up right here because it's probably something that was in the back of some people's minds.
It was and is still in the back of some people's minds, but I really feel like Charlotte's proven herself, but that's an easy way to kind of like poke at her because her dad is the Nature Boy. I mean, it's like, you think about it, I mean, there's always going to be that comparison to your dad. It's like, I remember when Michael Jordan's kids were playing college basketball, it's like, you're always going to be compared to the GOAT.
Yeah, I mean, that's, especially when your dad's at that level. I mean, that's hard to touch, it's hard to compete with. In Charlotte's case, though, she's doing a great job with it.
Right, and it's like, why fight it? She doesn't fight it. She embraces that heritage. I mean, that's who she is. It's her bloodline.
Well, so while Paige does, initially turn on PCB, she does try to reconcile, but only to attack them later. So kind of really this setup approach there. But on November 2nd, Becky's pinned by Paige in a fatal 4-way match to determine who's going to face Charlotte. But Lynch does get her revenge the next week by beating Paige. So, we're seeing Becky get used a lot, but she's still not quite the Becky that we're going to see later on. But on November 30th, Charlotte starts really turning heel at that time, becoming more the Charlotte we know now, kind of really taking on the bad persona, if you will. And she attacks Becky's leg, causing a leg injury, very similar to what we're seeing now as well.
Yep. And it's always interesting to see, like, when somebody turns heel, it kind of feels like they're being more themselves. I mean, because Charlotte strikes me as somebody who's like super confident in herself. I mean, again, not a bad person, but got some swag, as she should.
And so through the month of December, their friendship continues to strain. In January, Becky defeats Charlotte, and this is January 2016, where we are now. And then she faces Charlotte for the Divas Championship 3 days later at SmackDown, but lost both matches because Ric Flair interferes.
Yeah, and I think it was during this time, it was just like Becky, I mean, they always kind of seem to cast Becky as that can't quite get over the hump girl. Which, I mean, it's a believable story. It's like, she's good, but she just can't quite get there.
And so shortly after this, it's kind of, keeping her around that title picture as her and, kind of Sasha start competing to see who's going to be able to face Charlotte. And it ends up leading to a triple threat match at WrestleMania 32. She was unsuccessful in this attempt. And then at Money in the Bank in June, she teams up with Natalya to face Dana Brooke and Charlotte. So, this is a lot of history building with Charlotte already. And she ends up being the first woman drafted to SmackDown during the 2006 WWE draft.
Yeah, and I think, again, just thinking about WrestleMania 32, 100-something thousand people, and for the women's title to be on that stage, and in one of the major matches on the show, and one of the better matches on the show, and Becky is right there in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, and that's kind of what propels her onto the bigger stage. So after SummerSlam, we go into September 2016 at Backlash. Becky wins a 6-pack elimination challenge and becomes the inaugural SmackDown Women's Champion.
Well earned.
But she never actually got to defend that title, though. An injury keeps her from defending it. So she was supposed to defend it the following month against Alexa Bliss, but misses out on that. So the injury was postponed until November 8th of SmackDown. And then Becky was able to successfully defend her title at that time. And so, we continue to move forward. At Survivor Series, she was the last woman from Team SmackDown to be eliminated. At TLC, she lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Alexa, which Alexa also another amazing star. I don't want to skip over that. I mean, we'll definitely have to do a show on her sometime. She is definitely amazing there. But we start seeing La Luchadora start coming in at this time. So 2 weeks after TLC, she matched herself as La Luchadora and defeated Bliss in a non-title match. When she gets her rematch, La Luchadora interferes and causes her the match, but turns out to be the returning Mickie James.
Who was it that did this? Was it Edge and Christian? They came as the Conquistadors.
Conquistadors, yes.
But didn't Kurt Angle do this once, where he disguised himself as a luchador? He
came back and he defeated Baron Corbin.
Okay, and then I remember DDP dressed up as La Parka once and defeated Randy Savage.
And Hall and Nash one time, when they were supposed to be banned from the arena, showed up wearing luchador masks, but because of the size of both of them, the mask only covered a portion of their faces.
I remember that too.
And they were walking through the back saying they were looking for Senior Goldberg. So in February, she tried to go for the championship, was unsuccessful there. She participated in a six-pack challenge at WrestleMania 33. We continue to build, and so in January 2018, she participated in the first Women's Royal Rumble.
Again, we've got more history being created in the women's division, and she lasted, 30-something minutes or something like that in this one. And again, they're still positioning her as kind of granted she was the inaugural SmackDown Women's Champion, but she wasn't really being positioned as the woman or the man that she would come to be. She wasn't being positioned that way just yet.
Yeah, you're right. She wasn't yet, but we're definitely on the road there because, after this, you go into WrestleMania, she's in the Women's Battle Royal. She doesn't win it, but, she ends up qualifying for the Money in the Bank event. She doesn't win that either, but it's after that is when she starts a winning streak.
That's right.
So after Money in the Bank, she starts a winning streak. She beats Billie Kay, Sonya Deville, Peyton Royce, Mandy Rose. She beats Carmella in a non-title match. She gets a title shot at SummerSlam. And ironically, the title shot is supposed to be her and Carmella. Charlotte gets added to the match. So we see another triple threat involving Charlotte pop up again. So more similarities to what's going on right now.
Yeah.
So she ends up...
this was the night.
So Charlotte ends up winning this match by beating Becky. And so after the match, Becky attacks Charlotte. And she turns heel. And she comes out and she really on SmackDown really goes after the fans for not supporting her and talking about being denied opportunities. And we really start to see kind of that attitude coming out in her.
Right, but the whole time she snaps on Charlotte at SummerSlam, the crowd is going crazy. The crowd is loving it. I mean, it's a New York crowd, so if they're cheering you, you're onto something. And then that Tuesday on SmackDown, when she comes out and she cut her promo, and she's supposed to be mad at the fans, and they're cheering her for saying that they've turned their back on her. They're cheering the hell out of her.
Yeah, and this promo was she hit some valid points. And that's one of when you have a heel, quotations, when you have that heel there that can deliver a promo that's true to what they're doing, that makes you understand their side, that has valid points, has things that you can relate to, and I may not truly agree with it, but I understand why they're doing what they're doing. Yeah. That's the best kind of heel in my opinion.
They've always said the true bad guy believes that what they're doing is right.
Yeah, believes they're the good guy in this situation. And in this situation we saw that there, and this leads to a Hell in a Cell match where Becky becomes the SmackDown Women's Champion.
Yep.
And so she ends up retaining her title in a rematch with Charlotte at the Super Showdown and on an episode of SmackDown. So now we're kind of moving into what we kind of started, talking about earlier in the show. We're moving on towards Survivor Series. And so while Becky's, really gaining momentum and comes out around this time and calls herself the man. And that's, really interesting when you think about, she's been competing with Charlotte Flair. Her dad, Charlotte's dad, Rick, has the saying, to be the man, you have to beat the man. And Becky's referring to herself as the man. And, as we talked about back around our Hell in a Cell episode at that time, a lot of people were also confused at that time she started using it because it's like, wait, this is a woman calling herself the man. But like we said back then, it's not really so much a gender description as it is a title description. So like, doctor can be man or woman. She's calling herself man more from a significant standpoint.
Yeah, she's like basically saying, look, I am the measuring stick around here.
Yes.
I mean, I'm obviously a woman, but I am the measuring stick, and according to some, Ric Flair, to be the man, you gotta beat the man. She's saying, I am the man, beat me.
Yeah, and so, heading into Survivor Series, what everyone's wanting to see is, Becky's hot right now. Mm-hmm. She's calling herself the man, she's hot, the people are loving her, they've been loving her since SummerSlam. But, on the other side, on Raw, because, Survivor Series, when we get to see the two brands against each other, you have the baddest woman on the planet. You had an Olympic judo star, became a top star in the UFC, and became a mainstream name through that, comes into the WWE to, a huge reaction, and is continuing to get better and better and better, and truly is, in my opinion, the baddest woman on the planet, Ronda Rousey.
Without a doubt.
And so, going into Survivor Series, that's what everyone's wanting to see. They're wanting to see Becky versus Ronda. Everyone's excited to see it. We're wanting to see champion versus champion. But as Becky leads the SmackDown crew into Raw to try to attack them, she catches a huge right hand from Nia Jax that legit breaks her face.
Right here in Kansas City, Missouri.
So legit breaks her face. Now Becky's injured. She's not going to be able to get the Survivor Series match. And, so we're kind of coming back to what we talked about at the start of the show. Everybody wanted the one-on-one match there. Charlotte gets put in the match instead. And Charlotte and Ronda steal the show at Survivor Series.
Man, did they steal the show. And that was a hard show to steal. For real. Because even the Brock Lesnar-Daniel Bryan match ended up being better than I thought it was going to be. But Charlotte and Becky and Ronda stole the show, and they made you feel like, okay, I could watch this again.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it left us hungry. We still wanted to see Ronda and Charlotte again. We still wanted Ronda and Becky.
Right.
And you also have all that history with Charlotte and Becky.
And Becky choosing Charlotte to go in and take her place.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, it's feeding towards it, so you already can feel WrestleMania coming way back around Survivor Series. And so, when Becky does return, though, she puts her title on the line in a triple threat match at TLC against Asuka and Charlotte, which we see Ronda Rousey interfere, costing both Becky and Charlotte the match. Asuka wins the title. Becky does try to get a rematch with Asuka at the Royal Rumble, which Asuka defeats her. What did you think about having Asuka beat Becky early in the night?
I thought it made, given the direction that they wanted to go in, I thought it made sense. And I thought it was just a classic case of Becky doing the honors, if you will, for Asuka, because, in the midst of all of this, with Charlotte and Ronda and Becky, Asuka's kind of she's kind of been forgotten. And she was the one that came in with the undefeated streak at WrestleMania last year.
Yeah, she's definitely been overshadowed. And so, I remember, you can go back in the YouTube channels to see when we were talking about our build-up of Royal Rumble, where I talked about I could see Becky losing that match as a way to free her up to get her to Raw to go against Ronda. And, so it definitely happened here. But what I didn't see coming was in the same show, all of a sudden now she's in the Women's Royal Rumble match that she wasn't supposed to be in.
Yeah, and again, you have that Austin, there's a little bit of Austin in that too, because Austin used to find a way to get himself into positions that he technically wasn't supposed to be in. I mean, like in '97 Rumble, he was technically eliminated. Nobody saw him get eliminated. He comes back in and eliminates Brett and is declared the winner.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Becky wasn't supposed to be in the Rumble, but Lana ends up being injured earlier in the night, and was it earlier? Maybe it wasn't earlier in the night. She ended up injured.
Yeah, she was injured early in the night and then wasn't able to come
That's
back.
right. And then she's like trying to come to the ring and she can't get there. So Becky just kind of seizes the moment and gets herself in there and gets this opportunity.
And so, you know, she gets in there and she wins it by eliminating Charlotte. Charlotte's last one in. Becky eliminates her to go on. So, you know, it's definitely continuing that build here. And that's when where I kind of ran into an issue with, you know, knowing that she was going to get put into the match later with Charlotte to win it. Only because Asuka's being overshadowed anyway. Could you not have had either Ronda or Charlotte cost Becky the match with Asuka? So that way she doesn't lose clean, so then when you get into the Rumble, she has a bit more heat. And if it had been Charlotte that eliminated her, you have the heat of why she comes back after Charlotte. Had it been Ronda Rousey, then when she wins the Rumble, she has a more direct reason to go after Ronda.
In hindsight, they probably could have done it they probably could have done it differently. I think that they were trying to not completely overshadow Asuka because she's been a tremendous asset to the women's revolution. So,
and Becky's so high, it really didn't hurt her.
It definitely didn't. And I think Becky, I mean, there's respect amongst the women back there. I think Becky didn't mind doing the honors for Asuka.
Yep, and so during the Rumble match, Becky gets the leg injury, the knee injury. The night after on Raw, you know, Becky comes out, she challenges Ronda Rousey, gets face to face, crowd goes crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we see, you know, a lot of people gave Ronda Rousey a hard time because they felt she got flustered with the crowd talking, you know, chanting over her. I feel a little bad for her in that situation because it's not like the old days. You know, they are completely scripted now, so it's not like the old days where she can go off cuff and play to the crowd. I mean, for example, what I mean to that is just go back to, you know, summer of 2005. Montreal, Shawn Michaels hits the ring. And what's Montreal do back then every time Shawn Michaels hits the ring?
You screwed Brett.
Yep, over and over. You screwed Brett. You screwed Brett. And he just plays right into it. Just, you know, hits him with damn right and I'll do it again. And I mean, the crowd's like, whoa, but you can't do that now. You can't go
No, you can't do that now.
So that's the part where it's like, I don't really blame Ronda for getting frustrated with that because she's just trying to deliver her lines. However, when Becky does come out, she does recover great and delivers a really good promo, kind of really pointing out what everyone knows is that Ronda is a legit badass. And so now you're building up, you have this machine, this fighting machine, Ronda Rousey, Becky Lynch, the man, building towards each other. But with her being injured, not wanting to go see a doctor, she ends up punching Stephanie. She then ends up slapping Triple H, and she gets suspended.
Just feels like 1997 all over again.
Yep, yeah, very similar to Steve Austin's neck injury. And so we're coming out to where Triple H and Stephanie are telling her all she has to do is apologize, and she'll be put into the match. We know that when she does apologize, Mr. McMahon's going to come out and he's going to tell her, they may have accepted your apology, but I do not. You're suspended for 60 days, which means you'll come back after WrestleMania. Knowing they were going to do that, would you have had Becky apologize?
Yeah. Because again, you're playing into being I mean, you're still building Mr. McMahon as being Mr. McMahon. He's still like, he thinks he's the man.
Mm-hmm.
Becky says she's the man. It's like they're having a little contest, if you will.
Yeah, and I can get it from that standpoint of you want to make it look like, hey, look, she's doing everything you're asking her to do, and you're still going to screw her over. So it puts, kind of the heat back on Mr. McMahon, which, he hasn't really been that role in a long time, so that's definitely a good way to do that for him. But one of the ways I thought of, if you wanted to keep that rebellious persona and get him involved, was when, Triple H tells her, I just need to hear 2 little words from you. She could have hit Triple H with suck it. And then have Vince McMahon come out and tell her she's suspended on that spot. That way, she keeps the rebellious attitude, Vince becomes the heel, and we can still get to the same point where we're at now.
Yeah. I don't know if can they say suck it in a PG environment?
Well, she could have been like, well, I got 2 words for you, and held the mic up, and everyone would have known exactly what she was wanting to do, and the crowd would have done it.
There we go. Yeah.
So, they replace her in the match with Charlotte Flair.
Mm-hmm.
We lead to, just last month, Elimination Chamber. Becky, or right after Ronda destroys Ruby Riott, her and Charlotte are face to face. Becky comes through the crowd on crutches, suspended. Makes it to the ring, past security, gets a little bit into the ring, takes a little while to get up from the rope, struggles to get up, gets in there, and then starts proceeding to beat Charlotte with a crutch. Kind of has this moment where she stares down Ronda Rousey because Ronda can get to the other crutch, and it's kind of convincing Ronda, like, go ahead, take your shots at Charlotte. Ronda gets a crutch, turns towards Charlotte. Becky grabs a crutch, starts beating Ronda from behind. What'd you think about this segment?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It got the loudest reaction of the night. It was freaking amazing.
Yeah, it definitely got the loudest reaction of the night. I mean, the things that bothered me about it was, here was a time when I felt you should have really, with the Austin comparisons, here was a time to really go down the path of Austin of, it took her so long to get to the ring on crutches. Mm-hmm. If she's suspended, she's not supposed to be in the building, why did it take security so long to get there? When Austin used to hit the ring in late 97, security was right there.
Yeah.
And the stunner was fast. He could get in, hit the stunner, be rolling out as security's trying to get there, as the police are trying to get there. It created that chaos that you never know when he was going to strike, and he was going to strike quick. It took her so long to get there, and we know security's not that slow. Anytime a fan's ever jumped a barricade, security's there fast. And so that kind of was like, all right, to me, that was a bit much. It's like you could have went with a different route. Like, instead of filming her coming all the way down, they could have left the camera on the ring. And so then once she got in the ring, it didn't seem like it was as long. But definitely the beating of the crutch was a good move. Mm-hmm. Having her, beat Charlotte down, that was good. The only thing I think I may have done differently in that situation is, I don't know why Ronda Rousey needed to pick up a crutch to beat somebody that's already down.
Well,
she could beat somebody down anyway. I think she could have just, Becky could have just been like, beat Charlotte anyway, and then without Ronda going for the crutch, Becky could have still attacked her and accomplished the same thing.
You could, but I think we're we're splitting hairs a little bit. But it worked.
Yeah, it's definitely worked, and it's kept us going to this point to where, Ronda's demanding, Becky so bad. They try to get at each other. It's not happening. Becky wants Ronda. Ronda wants Becky. Charlotte's added into the match. It's becoming Ronda and Charlotte. And to where Ronda lays the belt down at Stephanie's feet, saying, if you're not adding Becky to the match, she's walking out, no longer going to be champion. Mm-hmm. So Stephanie announces we're going to see on Sunday Charlotte versus Becky to crown a new champion. But then Ronda showed back up and was like, whoa, you know, I was giving her my title if you weren't going to reinstate her, but you reinstated her, so I want my title. So now it's Charlotte versus Becky. If Becky wins, she's in the match. If Charlotte wins, Becky's out. Are we going to see Ronda Rousey interfere Sunday to guarantee Becky gets in the match?
I didn't think about that. Because I knew Becky was, I mean, anybody can see Becky's going to win. But I didn't think about Ronda being the reason she wins. That would add a little interesting twist to it.
So, you know, kind of what we're, you know, to bring it back full circle, because we just covered the whole career of Becky Lynch. You know, we talk about she's growing the, you know, definitely the hottest star in the company. The hottest star in all of wrestling right now. She is definitely moving down the path where she can be the face of the company. Depending on how it's done, I think you definitely have to get to the point where she's truly the face, and I think it's well established. The crowd's loving her too much, and it feels like, you know, Ronda's going to kind of take the heel role in this after the way things went down Monday. So, you know, pretty cool there. So I mean, she can definitely become the face of the company. But what do you think about the comparisons to Austin? Is it? I know we pointed out so many similarities in here, but is she truly the real Austin, or the new Austin, or is she becoming her own superstar?
She's becoming her own.
Yeah, I agree.
Clearly, I mean, she's like, I mean, she's a woman calling herself the man, and I don't know of any woman that has ever done that and have it work. And I don't know of many women who could do that and have it work.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think, definitely you can draw some parallels and some similarities to Austin, but yeah, the brashness, and she's just continuing to develop in her own.
Right.
And as time goes on, I think we're going to just continue to see that. I mean, and yeah, like we said earlier, this is the match we're seeing. And this is the highlight right now going into WrestleMania. It's definitely the hottest story right now.
Easily, because it's featured every week. I can't even. When's the last time we even saw Brock?
Right. I mean, and at this point, Ronda's awesome, Charlotte's awesome, but Becky's popularity is so over right now. She's so big. She's so popular. She's just carrying the story so much that do you even care that Brock's not there?
No.
Because this is the title that's the most important right now, it feels like.
Easily. It goes women's title, it goes Raw women's title, probably WWE title.
Then Universal, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so, yeah, I mean, to make that kind of statement that she's, you know, in the biggest match going into WrestleMania, it's definitely a testament to all three of them. She has so much momentum right now. I mean, that's why we definitely wanted to give a show to her. Great career so far. She's really, you know, put in the hard work, like we said at the beginning. You know, came into her own. Like you mentioned earlier, it grew organically. You were able to see that through the history. So, yeah, I'm excited, looking forward to WrestleMania.
Yep, and looking forward to this weekend too.
Yeah,
just to see how. I mean, just to see how that. I'm curious to see if Ronda does end up interfering.
Yep. Yeah, I'm thinking she will. So, yeah, it's been a good episode covering the man, and we will see you soon with some more Kayfabe critique.
I'm gonna just admire the man while we go out.
All right, see you, everybody.